Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and today we're going to talk about kidnappings in the caravan. So, let's get started. First thing you need to know is that I'm a retired French and Spanish teacher. I taught French and Spanish for 22 years, so I have a real warm spot in my heart for Hispanics. I know many of them. A lot of people in my town are Hispanic. I have probably 4 or 5 different families along my street that are Hispanic. One of them's a really good friend, just lives a couple doors down. I really love the Hispanic people, and I need you to understand that before I get into the rest of this. I am not in any way, shape, or form saying the majority of Hispanics are bad people. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that there are some. Just like in the United States, we have some bad people. Well, every country has some bad people. So just keep that in mind as I go through the rest of this, please. Back in about 2007, 2008, I was really a diehard fan of Alias, the TV show, and this lady, Mia Maestro, had a big part in it. I did a little bit of research on her, and I saw this movie. Well, I wanted to see what the movie was, so I got the movie, and I watched it, and wow, this is a pretty intense movie. Now, please understand, it is rated R for a reason. Do not show this to kids or younger people. It is something that really deals with a lot of very adult themes, and there's bad language and other things in it that definitely is not for the younger people or those who are faint of heart. It's an intense movie. I'm going to tell you that. Let me show you the trailer, and then I think you'll understand a little bit better. Definitely restricted R. Yes, for a reason.
In the most dangerous city on earth, crime is a way of life. And no matter who you are, no one is safe. Now, one family will enter a game where outlaws call all the shots. But this time, nothing will go as planned. 3 criminals, 2 lives, 1 chance. When every second is life and death, you have to play every move like it's your last. Secuestro Express.
Yep, I told you it's very intense, and when it says for strong violence, drug use, sexuality, and language, it means it. Okay? But I wanted to show that to you because that was the movie that kind of kicked off my understanding of some of the situations that are going on in Hispanic countries. This was not a true story, but it's based on what was really happening in Venezuela back in the early 2000s, and it's continued. If you look at this article from El Nuevo Herald, this is from Venezuela, and this was dated June 2015. And it was still happening, the Secuestro Express, the express kidnappings. And they were having this real problem with it in Venezuela. Even back then, the gang members would target rich people, and they would take some member of their family, and then they would hold them for ransom. And the reason it's called express is because they would have a very fast turnaround time, and usually if they didn't get the money right away, they would end up killing the person. It was one of those things that happened over the period of maybe 24 hours, and that was it. If it lasted any longer than that, your chances of being returned alive were nothing. This was a situation that was very serious. She's holding up the sign, enough already, and this is something that they were dealing with. This whole culture of express kidnappings, the reason it came up is because of money. And follow the money and you're going to find the crimes. Well, here in this situation, this is what gang members were doing to get quick money. But this idea of kidnapping has evolved now, and we're seeing it spread into other countries. Mexico this year saw a rise of 12% between April and May, 12% in kidnappings. And you can read this article if you want to. Granted, there's still low numbers here, not near what it was in Venezuela, because Venezuela was getting so bad, it was like they would have 2 or 3 every week. They had people being kidnapped, the Secuestro Express. So it was really getting bad. But most of these are happening in Mexico. Most of them are happening in Veracruz and Estado de Mexico. Those are the 2 major ones. You'll find that out. When I show you another article, you'll understand why that particular area is important. Another article, this one from El Universal, and yes, they're rising. It's becoming more and more people. They're having a lot of problems with kidnapping. Well, again, instead of the Secuestro Express, the real quick ones where there's fast turnover, what these are doing, these are turning into long-term ones, permanent ones, basically, because they take these people, they kidnap them, and then they sell them to the human traffickers. And the human traffickers then are happy and they traffic them all around the world. And these gang members that actually do the kidnapping are the ones who earn money doing it. And then the human traffickers earn money when they sell these people. Or rent them, which is the case most of the time. It's kind of weird. Anyway, this is not something new. On October 24th, 2018, the Judicial Watch blog had an article called Elaborately Planned Caravan Brings Human Traffickers and Violent Gangbangers to Guatemala. The migrant caravan marching northbound through Central America is an elaborately planned movement that's benefiting human smugglers and bringing disturbing numbers of violent gang members and other criminal elements through Guatemala, according to government sources in the capital city. MS-13 gang members have been detained, and coyotes, who are the human smugglers, are joining the march with clients who pay to get smuggled into the United States. Here's the really sad thing about this. Not only do these coyotes get money from the people that they are going to bring to the United States, supposedly, then they also get money from the human traffickers. Once they bring the people up here, then the human traffickers take them from them, and then these people spend the rest of their lives in slavery from these human traffickers. This is why it's very important that we have a border wall. The border wall will stop people from taking the chance. You see, these people in the caravans, I have no doubt that some of these people in the caravans are being seriously lied to. Maybe even many of them, or most, are being lied to. That if they can just get up north, everything will be wonderful and they'll be fine. But what's really happening is they're being deceived. And why? Because of the money. And where does the money come from? The money comes from these people that are trafficking them. So what's happening is you have organizations that are pumping money into this caravan. Why? Because once they get them up here and they can sell them off, they will make so much more money off of human trafficking. This is what's so horrible about it. It's really not about immigration. It is about human trafficking. And this is happening over and over. As usual, down below, I'll have all these links. You can read the whole article for yourself. This one's not very long. And please notice here that it says that there are nationals of Bangladesh who are also part of it, recruiting grounds for terrorist groups. I did that in another video and they demonetized it because they didn't like that. Hopefully they won't do that to this one. But it doesn't matter. This information needs to get out there. This is a video by Black Conservative Patriot. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of his videos. He has some really good ones. This one has interviews with some Mexican residents who are disrupted by this and who are worried about what's going on in their country. There are a lot of people in Mexico who are very disturbed by this as well. And a lot of them are supporting Trump because they believe if he can secure our border, then these people won't do this anymore. They won't be enticed to do it. And I really think that if you're interested in the welfare of people, if you're interested in helping these migrants, the best thing we can do is to stop the border flow so that they won't even risk their lives doing this. I'll put the link down below and you can watch it at your leisure. But really good video, has some very good information that I think you need to know. In that video, he refers to this article from El País, and it is armed men took 2 women and 3 children. And this is the caravan. This is current. This is the caravan. And they're talking about a woman who witnessed the 2 women and 3 children were taken. One of the children was a baby. she says here. And the women were about 24 years old, and that she herself, and that's not her real name, that's just a name they gave her to cover her identity, she is about 17 years old, and she was traveling with her brother. So she watched this happen. She saw some armed men come in and take these two women and the three children. They were kidnapped. Where is it happening? Well, this area right here is the main area. These are the people who have recently joined. You see Veracruz? I told you Veracruz is one of the major regions for the kidnappings that are going on. And so they started at the town of Isla, and then they made their way up past Tierra Blanca and Cordoba and Puebla. And this is the main region right here where things are happening. Well, if you scroll on down, I'm not going to go through it all, and no, I'm not going to read it to you, but if you scroll on down, you can find out that there were some kidnappings that happened along here just recently, but I bet nobody's heard them in the news, at least not here in the United States. There were 2 entire busloads of people that were taken out of the caravan. They paid about $150 to get onto a bus, and then when they got so far along the trip, then the bus driver stopped and asked them for $50 more. Well, none of them had money, and so then they started going a different direction, and they started to leave the main drag. Now, the person that was recounting the story was somebody who got away when they stopped, but most of them disappeared, and nobody knows what's happened to those 2 busloads of people. Now, were they men or women? We don't know, but I tend to think that probably it was women and children, because who would have the hardest time making this trip? The women and children. And so they probably put them on the buses, and then the men would walk or catch other rides. So these buses are missing. Nobody knows what's happened to them. These people, 2 busloads of people, are gone. But we don't hear anything about that. There are dangers like this happening along the way all the time. So if you truly care for these people, you want them to stop, because the longer they keep going, the bigger the risk of them being kidnapped and then sold to human traffickers. Now, if you don't believe that human trafficking is an issue, President Trump made this a main goal of his presidency. He makes a statement here: my administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific practice of human trafficking, and I am prepared to bring the full force and weight of our government, whatever we can do, in order to solve this horrific problem. It is a problem. It is a huge problem. The United States is the #1 country for human trafficking, and California is the #1 state, and then Adam Schiff's district is the #1 district. So President Trump is working very hard to stop this, to put an end to this. And he's done a couple of executive orders that play into this. One of them is dismantling the transnational criminal organizations that are running these human trafficking rings. So that is one of the focuses, and you can read that executive order. I'll put it down below. And then another one where he blocked the property of people that were involved in these serious human rights abuse or corruption. Basically, those who are involved in those transnational criminal organizations, they're going to have their property seized, so they won't be able to. Now, some have already had that happen. And you're seeing a lot of CEOs from big companies starting to step down suddenly. And especially, this was done on December 21st of 2017. That very day, within just a couple of hours after this came out, Eric Schmidt of Google stepped down. And it was really out of the blue, and everybody was like, wow, what's going on? But that happened. So I'm going to leave those for you. You can go through and read them on your own, but they're very interesting. He's setting things up so that if people are involved in this human trafficking, this is a big part of it. But I need you to know that the whole thing about human trafficking is really one of the major reasons Trump is pushing so hard to get our border secure. Because if it's secure, these women and children are not going to take the risk. And there's a Huffington Post article that I've posted before. I'll put the link down below. I didn't bring it up here, but it's an article from 2014 where it has a headline that says 80% of the women and children that make this trek up to our southern border are going to be raped. That's a horrific number. If 80% of the women and girls in that caravan are going to be raped before they make it here, that's horrific. That cannot be tolerated. We don't want that to happen. We need them to stay back where they are. So when you're thinking of this whole topic, remember, it really is not about immigration. It's a matter of stopping the flow across our border so people won't take the risk, because the risk is real. Now, again, remember, I'm saying it's not all Hispanics. There are a few who are doing this. It's not all of the people in the caravan. Most of the people in the caravan have been duped into doing this. They've been lied to about what would happen if they come here. And that is the real tragedy, and the people responsible for that should be ashamed of themselves. But you know they're not. And President Trump is working on taking those kinds of people down, because if you are supporting human trafficking, you need to be arrested and behind bars. And that's what is going to be happening, and we're going to see that play out in the next few months. So keep up with things, because a lot of this ties into our government. Many who are involved in government positions are also involved in human trafficking in some degree. So keep this in mind as you watch the news, and when you see this, it's all connected together. If you haven't seen my Dismantling the Global Mafia video, I put more of the pieces together there, and you can watch that. So let's hope that they don't demonetize this one. And I want to thank you for stopping by. It's a difficult topic, but put it out there, especially the information about the 2 busloads of people who are missing, and nobody's reporting on it here. Let's make sure we share this information, and especially this video here by Black Conservative Patriot, because he has interviews with different people, and it shows how there really is support for our border being closed. Even in Mexico, Mexican people themselves want this to stop. They are not happy with the caravan. It's causing a lot of problems. Shop owners in Tijuana are having difficulty there, and schools are closed. It's really a crisis for them, and they don't want it happening. And if the United States border was closed, they wouldn't have to put up with it either. So it's a strain on Mexico. It's a strain on us. It needs to stop. So if you really care about these migrants, we need to make it stop, because as long as it's going on, it's going to endanger anyone who is in that crowd. And yes, the majority of the people in these caravans are men, about 90 to 95%. But the women and children are being used as pawns in this game. So please spread the news. The best way to keep these women and children safe is to not have them try to make it to our border, because it's on the way here that most of the bad things are going to happen to them. Ask the people in the 2 buses. Oh no, wait, you can't, because the buses are missing. So anyway, that's what I've got for you today. I want to thank you for stopping by. See you later.